Hi, everybody. So today we're going to go over some equations that may have some more steps than the ones that you did for practice in the last slide. So the first worksheet we're going to work on is called Writing Equations for Vertical Angles. What you need to remember is that vertical angles mean that they are across from each other, right? So they're across. And when they're across from each other, when they're across from the x like that, they are equal to each other. But in geometry, when we say equal, we use this symbol that means congruent, right? Vertical angles are congruent. All right, so we're going to use that property of those being equal to each other to set up equations. That's what equal means, right? We'll start with a simple one right here. These are my two vertical angles. They're right across from each other. So I'm going to write 2x has to equal 74. Now, if you remember, we would draw a line down through our equal sign, and we had to remember how to undo this operation. Well, what operation is that, Joel? Right, there's really a hidden multiplication symbol in there. And how do you undo multiplication, Gia? Right, you have to divide. Okay, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. Now remember, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that just leaves me with 1x. And go ahead and use your calculator and find 74 divided by 2. I'm going to try to do that in my head. Half of 70 is 35, and half of 4 is 2. So I think the answer is going to be 37. Did I get it right? I think I did. So 37 is the value of x. Okay, next we're going to go to question number 2 right here. So again, I'm seeing a vertical angle pair right here and right here. When they are vertical to each other, remember that we can say that they are equal or congruent to each other. So I'm going to write an equation. 126 equals x plus 77. Now this time, the variable is on the other side of the equal sign, but it's also being added to. How do you undo addition? Go ahead, James. That's right, you subtract. So I'm going to subtract that 77 from both sides of the equation. Now what's going to happen here is that becomes a zero pair, so that kind of just goes away, and I'm left with an x over here. And 126 minus 77, you got it? That's right, Alyssa, 49. So x is 49 in this problem. All right, let's keep going. Sorry about that. I'm trying to still learn how to use this tool, and it's a little tricky, so gotta give me some time here. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's the next one. Now I have to solve for x in this problem, but the problem is, hold on a second. The problem is that I'm seeing x in this angle right here. And there's two ways that I could approach this problem. Let me get rid of this mess that I just made over here. Okay, there's two ways that I could approach this problem. I'm noticing that the angle that has x right here is vertical to 105 degrees. So one method is to use the fact that they are in fact vertical to each other. I'm going to see if I can make this a little skinnier again. Okay, so now I'm going to write this equation. 6x minus 21 equals, what's the number that's going to go over here? What about this 75? It's just sitting here. What are we supposed to do with that? Is it vertical? No, it's kind of an added piece of information. I don't even really need it. All right, so this is going to be 105. All right, Riley, where do we go next? Now this is a little unusual, isn't it? Normally, we would have just a variable by itself. Now I want to show you something kind of cool. If I thought of this whole thing as just the variable, so let me fill that in so you can't see what's underneath that. Okay, if I had something minus 21, how would I get that something by itself? Right, draw that line down through the equal sign. That's a pretty bad line, sorry about that. But yeah, I would have to, if they're doing minus 21 to that thing, then I would have to do plus 21 to get rid of that, right? That would make my zero pair. So what I'm left with is this is 0, and whatever is underneath that square is what's going to be left down here, right? Whatever was here, I had minus 21 plus 21. So that means whatever is here is now going to be down here. Well, look what was there. There was a 6x there. So I'm actually going to get rid of this, and I'm going to rewrite that 6x down here. And then over here, I have 126. All right, Jonathan, what do I do next? There's really a multiplication symbol right here between the 6 and the x. How do I undo multiplication? You got it. I have to divide. So use your calculator and divide 126 divided by 6. When I do that, I get 21. So x is 21 in this problem. Let's keep going. We're on a roll now. Okay, so in this next problem, there's a lot more information in here. It's like they keep trying to trick me, right? I see the variable of x in this angle right here. Whoops, went a little too far. Sorry about that. I see the variable x in that expression 8x. And I want to use vertical angles. Well, here's where the x is made in that set of vertical angles right here. X is right here. And if this is one side of the x, then the other side of the x is actually both of those numbers together. So that means 8x has to equal what these two angles are together. So 55 plus 85. Anybody have any thoughts? That's right. Good job, Reese. We can add these two numbers together. Perfectly good thinking right there. 55 plus 85. What's that going to equal? 140. Good job. And I still have 8x on this side. That's a times in there, right, Jonathan? Okay, so Eleanor, what do I do next? Divide by 8, right? Good job. So when I go to my calculator and I do, see if I can do that here. If I do 140 divided by 8, let's see what I get. 17.5. Now that's kind of weird. I ended up with a decimal number. Do you think that's okay? Well, I am writing it down, aren't I? So I guess it is okay. 17.5. Whoops. Ugh. I'm really bad at this. I wonder if one of you guys would be better at this than me. 17.5. Okay, we have a few more to do. Let's get going. Boy, this looks really confusing. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm feeling so nervous. There's so much information in this picture. Well, remember what we did last time. We found the variable x and then looked at what was exactly across from it. Well, what do I do with this y thing? Well, that's kind of interesting. I can maybe do this one and this one. That's familiar looking to me. I've seen that picture before. So I'm going to go back and do the red one first because I'm going to solve for x. X minus 15 equals 52. And now I'm going to set up one for the blue set, okay? 4y has to equal 128. Go ahead, press pause and solve those and see how you do. So here I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And I get x equals 67. Over here, I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides, and I get y equals 32. Well, look at that. We just made that problem pretty fast and easy, didn't we? Okay, let's go ahead and try the last one on the page. Find a set of vertical angles. Set up an equation. 6y minus 27 equals 105. Now let's set up the other set of equations. I see 12x plus 15, and that has to be the same as 75. So 12x plus 15 equals 75. Now remember, this is a little bit harder than the one-step problems, but they're still doable, right? Remember that trick that I showed you, that you can pick a shape and cover that variable so that you can solve for what you need to solve for. So I'm going to make a square to cover up this thing. Ugh, I told it to fill, didn't I? Okay, now how would I do that? Right, good job, Alyssa, good. Plus 27, plus 27. Keep making fat lines here, I don't like it. Okay, if I add 27, I'm going to get whatever was left underneath there. So let's go ahead and get rid of this again and see what was underneath there. Okay, it was 6y. So I get 6y equals 105 plus 27 is 132. Now I need to divide by 6. And I have to move over now because I ran out of room. 132 divided by 6 is, well, 6 goes into 13 twice. 1 left over, 6 into 12 goes twice. Then I get y is equal to 22. And then let's do the next one. Remember the box trick here. I can cover up the variable and pretend that it's just one thing for right now. Okay. So I'm going to have to then subtract 15 from both sides. And whatever I put down here has to be whatever was underneath that square right there. What was under the square? 12x. Okay, so I've got to pick that 12x and bring it down. And then I can do 75 minus 15, which is 60. That's a multiplication right there. I have to divide, right? Good job, you guys. You're doing this. X equals 5. We're done this page. Good work. That's using vertical angles to write and solve equations.